Boa noite e bem-vindo em outra edição de Na Casco Edjean. Um prazer de te enviar mais junto conosco hoje noite para desfrutar de outro programa muito interessante e de muita informação. Maneira como estou avisando desde o princípio do programa aqui já, desde meio cava, o programa guarda criar como uma plataforma importante para nós por riba discussão, conversação e trazendo adiante tópico importante, tópico de interesse e tópico que persona de nossa comunidade segura interessar passar mais de dia. Não somente tópico que tem a ver com cultura, com criatividade, com indústria cultural e criativo, por maneira por awak no último programa também. Nós conversado com a traficação e contrabando de gente. E hoje, no programa de Na Casco Edjean, me tinha outro invitado para nós conversar um pouco mais e trabalhar com sua organização, que está representar a Binta Hasi de nossa isla para Hopi Luna acaba seguro mais com ano assistindo nossa isla durante a pandemia aqui, que seguro não somente a dar nos duro para o mundo inteiro, mas não trabalho como organização estava visto desde o princípio que a pandemia ia na Aruba. Dia mais na abo que está mirando, agradecendo para a boa sintonia e se acaso você quer participar ativamente da conversação aqui, você pode pôr um comentário, para seguro você pode pôr uma pergunta, para assim me pôr assim na meu invitado de hoje. Meu invitado de hoje está Port Captain de Freewinds, barco que tem Hopi acaba visitando nossa isla, Hopi acaba assistindo na diferente causa importante, diferente fundação e diferente hazaña que guarda assim durante mais de 30 anos. Senhor Ken Weber, hoje me vai fazer uma entrevista na inglês, Ken por papiamento, pero vai lá, isso te compreender, pero nossa preferência vai mais fácil hoje, me vai assim na inglês. Ken, thank you for being with us today. Welcome to our home. And it's a pleasure having you here. How are you?
Excellent, Edjean. Thanks for having me. You know, it's like we were talking about earlier before we started. It's been much over a year since we last saw each other.
Yeah,
we used to work together all the time on different projects.
I think the last time was the last few months in 2019. I think I'm not sure.
Right.
It does feel that we have that much time hasn't passed though. It feels like that, but it's great to see you guys because usually we are on the ship, doing concerts, having nice conversations, and planning the future. Mm-hmm. But now we see that the Freewinds has been even more active on the island. As I've said in the introduction, for the past over a year, the island and the world has experienced this pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic that has hit us in a way by surprise. And obviously, when islands like ours are in need, you see that some organizations step up and provide assistance. In this case, I've seen so much great coverage in the press of the great work that the Freewinds has been doing this past year. Why did you guys decide to help the island?
Well, I think it's a pretty simple answer, quite frankly, pretty straightforward. When you know you have a way to help, a means to help, it's something, tools that will make a difference, you just can't sit there and watch and hope things go better. You have to get involved. You have to reach out. And as you mentioned at the beginning, we've been coming here for many years, 33 years to be exact, with about 1,000 cruise ship calls. And it's Aruba is home to us as well. So, like I said, we know we can help. We know we had solutions. So we went straight to the Aruba crisis team and said, hey, you know, we want to help. We have some tools that we feel we know can help. And they said, okay, go, start. So we teamed up right away with the Aruba Fire Department. And one of the first things we did, I think people recognize these booklets probably.
That was one of the first actually things I saw.
Well, that was
even before I saw the press, publications in the press. I remember going to do some grocery shopping. This was in the beginning of April, I think, at the end of March. Very paranoid, I must say, because, we've never experienced this before. And I saw that in the supermarket.
Right.
Pleasantly surprised to see that.
Well, that was the whole idea. The booklets are called How to Protect Your Others with Masks and Gloves, kind of obvious thing, what to do in isolation. And the main one is how to keep yourself and others well. And these are simple, straightforward, easy to understand, correct information, because right at the beginning, and even still now, there's so much stuff out that's incorrect or not true or confusing, and the true stuff's there too, but this is the correct information, simply put. But the idea was right at the beginning, right when the stay-at-home order, the lockdown basically hit.
Yep.
It was like, okay, let's get these out to the essential businesses, the gas stations, the supermarkets, the pharmacies, the takeaway food restaurants, and let's get these into the hands of the people so they can, have the correct information.
So the goal for providing this help, as you said, was that you're not going to just sit and stand by and see the situation unfolding. You want to step in to help. How was the reception on the island? How did you experience that?
Well, it was it was open arms, basically, right? Like I said, we teamed up with the fire department because we couldn't just run off the ship and start, sanitizing places with with the D7 as a compound. So we had to work with the authorities, and, that worked very smooth. And in fact, we trained a team of firefighters with the systems we were using. The system's called D7 or Decon 7. And it's the most effective virus bacteria agent there is anywhere. It was developed by the U.S. military for chemical and germ warfare mitigation.
Okay.
Right? And our organization, the Church of Scientology, was using it in its organizations around the world right at the very beginning. And because the research was done as what's the best thing. And we were using it on the Freewinds right at the beginning, even before it was a worldwide pandemic.
You were using it on the ship?
Yeah, sanitizing the ship.
Okay.
And we're still using it.
Okay.
And since COVID-19, there hasn't even been a cold on board the Freewinds. There's just been no illness at all. So it's a very effective product. And we can take that out in the streets. We can take it we started with essential places like the government office. One of the first places we sanitized was the Prime Minister's meeting room and the press conference room, because he couldn't afford to have those people off the lines in the crisis committee meeting rooms.
Because that was one of the first places actually that was continuously seeing people meeting all the time,
right,
to handle the crisis, etc.
Right.
And when did you start sanitizing schools and other businesses?
Well, as the shelter-in-place order started easing off a bit, especially schools. Now that was talk about, okay, we got to open the schools. But there was a lot of, parents concerned. I don't want to send my children to school because I don't want, how are they going to stay safe?
Yeah.
But I can't have them at home. But if I get a chance to go out and work again, I got to go home, leave home and go out. And so we started, actually, where we trained the firefighting team was Collegio Urbano.
Okay.
And it was like our training school, and we sanitized that school first, and then we teamed up with the Department of Public Schools.
Okay. Do you remember when precisely did you start with the whole process of sanitizing and giving trainings?
That was, I guess, right at the end of April is when we teamed up with the fire department. In May was when we started moving out more and more.
So you've been doing this for over a year.
Over a year.
On the island.
Over a year, yeah.
Any idea how longer you have to continue doing it?
Well, we're actually that's pretty much ended. Well, if somebody calls and say, we need this, you please, we'll do it. But what we're doing now more is training others. We've training others to use the same product, Decon 7, that they can sanitize or fog. We call it fogging because when you apply D7, it's a mist, so it'll permeate the whole space.
Okay.
And get into every nook and cranny and actually attack the germs and kill them. So that's why it's so effective. So we're teaching others how to use it. And we've trained teams for the police department, their own internal teams, Post Aruba, 6 public schools so far, SCOA schools, the pest control companies, because they do sanitization as well.
I see there that you're even entering a gym.
Yeah, see that's how you apply the Decon 7 with this fogging machine, and you can see the volunteer minister there fogging, and then you wipe it down when you're done. And what's really nice about this product, yes, it's very lethal to the germs, but it's environmentally friendly, right? You can't, when you're applying this mist, this fog, you can't breathe it, but you let air out the place, you wipe it down, and the product, you can pour it down the drain, and it's not going to harm the environment.
Did you start, I like the name, by the way, Volunteer Ministers from the Freewinds. Did you start from the get-go by giving seminars or just by sanitizing?
Just by handing out the booklets
Okay.
and then
Raising
doing the
awareness.
awareness and then fighting it, right? So that's what we got involved in first.
How many booklets?
At the first
approximately?
wave, you can call it, during the lockdown,
Yeah.
and shortly thereafter, it was about 96,000 copies of this booklet on the island.
96,000 copies.
And they're still going out bit by bit, and it's just under 100,000 copies. So,
wow.
and if you don't happen to have one, you know, if you don't and you want one, because the information is still valid, and it shows you how to sanitize at your own home using household products. You know, you don't have to buy a professional product. You can use your household bleach, your alcohol, hydrogen peroxide. Hydrogen peroxide is the main ingredient in
the
Decon
product.
7.
Okay.
So it's right in these booklets how you mix it at home when you sanitize what you call high touch places, you know, tables, doorknobs, handles, where, you know, get a lot of traffic.
Do you have any idea how many separate locations approximately that have been sanitized?
Approximately on the island, we sanitized somewhere more than 550 different locations. Government facilities, offices, sports facilities, recreation facilities, NGO offices, just about everywhere in every school on the island, just about every school, many times over. In excess of 25 million square feet of space have been sanitized by the volunteer ministers.
And the prevention seminars have started from the beginning, and you're giving them continuously?
Yes, we offer it to locations and businesses and whatnot because, like I said before, there's a lot of false information out there, incorrect information.
Okay.
And when you give the correct information, it's very simple, but how to stay well, how to properly, there's actually a way you properly, it says you wash your hands, right? You hear that all the time.
Yeah, all the time. That's one of the first things that we started really seeing a lot on social media.
And
wash your hands and the
that
process of washing.
I'm sorry, yeah. And that's one of the most effective ways to prevent the spread of illness. And washing, because you touch your face, your nose, your eyes, you touch, communication with other people. But there's a proper way to wash your hands to get that sanitized set of hands, you know.
There's a video that you sent us of one of the seminars that you gave at Tele Aruba. This video shows this. I think Susan was giving the seminar together with a few other volunteers.
Right.
I think we can show the video, the Tele Aruba seminar that you were giving. This was during 2020 or this year?
This was early this year.
Okay.
Right.
So companies that are interested in these types of seminars on how to be well, how to sanitize, and how to stay well, can approach you guys. How does that go?
Well, you mentioned there was a lot of press coverage out, and they're still online. A lot of the online news places. You look if you search Freewinds and any of the online news sites, a lot of these articles will come up. And at the end of these articles is the contact information.
Okay.
For Susan, who ran the volunteer ministers, and email address and phone number.
And you are still able, obviously, to give these seminars to
Right,
these.
yeah, sure. So you can see on the monitor there, or the screen, how it's talking about these. Now, these booklets themselves are booklets, but they're also online, right? You can download these booklets online.
Okay.
And there's a couple dozen videos, different sections on how to wear a mask and glove, how to wash your hands, how to sanitize when you come home. People don't think of that. You know, you've been out on the street and whatever. How do you've been in contact with other people. So how do you sanitize your car keys, your credit cards, your shoes, and don't bring that into the house? And these videos are pretty simple, and they cover that.
How is the reception from in this case, the people that were given the seminar?
You know, it's kind of surprising, but a lot of it is, I didn't know that. Oh, that's surprising. Nobody told me that. Or,
Okay.
That's so simple, yeah.
Well, that's interesting. That's good to know. Now, the purpose of the volunteer ministers is not, I mean, on the island, maybe it's one of the first times that we heard about the term, but it was not just during this COVID-19 pandemic that the volunteer ministers has been active.
Right. Well, it's actually an international organization.
Exactly.
It's an organization of the Church of Scientology. It's a disaster response group. They're like first responders. So, earthquakes, these fires that are happening in the United States, they're there. The tsunami that hit, any major disaster like that, they respond. And they work alongside with other disaster crisis teams, Red Cross and the local teams. But specifically for the Freewinds in the Caribbean, this is the first project here in Aruba. But personally, I've been to St. Martin after Hurricane Maria. I've been to Dominica twice. First was Tropical Storm Erika, and then it was Irma that that hit St. Martin, and then shortly after Maria. So I had volunteer minister teams up on those islands doing hurricane disaster relief. Just recently, after the volcano exploded in St. Vincent, we sent down a 40-foot container of disaster relief supplies and a team of volunteer ministers to distribute it.
Okay.
Right? So
I see something very interesting that the mandate is to be a person who helps his fellow man on a volunteer basis by restoring purpose, truth, and spiritual values to the lives of others. That's beautiful to see. How long has the volunteer ministers been existing?
They came about in the, I would say, the 1980s, early 1980s, when Ron Hubbard, he's the founder of Scientology, but he's a humanitarian. He wants to help. His purpose was to help his fellow man, and he saw the problems of what was happening in the world and how society was dropping down. And the volunteer ministers didn't originally start out as disaster response. As you read that line there, it's to help his fellow man restore truth, values, spiritual values. And that was the original purpose, working one-on-one or working with families or working with groups, and that's what we volunteer ministers still do, if because people need help. I mean, there's,
Now, besides that, I mean, as I've said in the introduction of the program, the Freewinds has been making, you said, over 1,000 port of calls to the island.
Yes, around 1,000 to Aruba.
Been coming to the island for over 33 years. My first experience on the ship was about 27 years ago as a 10-year-old boy. I was not aware that I was being part of something that was much bigger than us. I just performed that night as a singer.
Mm-hmm.
And then I learned that the Freewinds has been doing this type of, this important work for so long by teaming up with different organizations on the island. So I'd like you to tell the viewers, those who don't really know yet, because maybe those who are watching have been to a few shows and they are aware, but maybe some are not really. In what other ways has the Freewinds helped Aruba specifically throughout all these years?
Well, a very common way is, like you said, you performed on board. As a 10-year-old boy, I actually remember that show. I remember this very young man singing with the mariachi band, and I go, that boy can sing. I'm impressed. Right? And but that event was a fundraiser. I remember the event, but I don't recall what the purpose was. But that's how we've helped many NGOs and churches and sports groups and different charitable organizations raise funds through the arts. Basically, we have a very talented band on board the Freewinds.
Exactly.
And there's talented musicians here on the islands, so we like to mix together. We create a show, we create an event for whatever organization or charity, like Go Cultura. We've worked with you many times, and you've helped. You've done many shows to benefit other, not your foundation necessarily, but other foundations, right?
True.
So that whatever foundation we're helping, they sell the tickets, they do the promotion, and then the 100% of the proceeds goes to them.
Exactly.
We're not taking a cut. The musicians do it all voluntarily. Thank you very much for that. I really appreciate that. And it's a fun thing. The audience loves it. It's great entertainment, and it's a win-win situation because the foundation gets much needed cash. The audience enjoys themselves, and the musicians have some fun.
And it doesn't only happen on Aruba. It's pretty popular. All the work that the Freewinds has been doing in Curacao.
Mm-hmm.
The Freewinds has been going in the past to Bonaire and different other islands also. And in every port you have these types of shows, right, to help other NGOs.
Absolutely, in every single port. In fact, our first major fundraising concert was in Antigua. And at the end of, I guess it was 1989, after Hurricane Hugo went through. And we did an outdoor telethon, an all-day telethon with the Freewinds band and other local musicians and raised funds. And it was like, okay, this works. This was a very good idea, and we're going to keep doing it.
That was 1989.
Yes.
Okay, so then fast forward 20 years, you did one on the island also after the earthquake in Haiti.
Right, we did a Help
Like
Haiti
a
concert.
huge telethon, radiothon.
Yeah.
Remember how much money was raised?
It was over $1 million.
Okay.
It was a big success. In fact, what happened, the Red Cross approached us and said, hey, we need to get supplies to Haiti. Can you sell the Freewinds there? That wasn't practical. But I said, hey, I know something that works. Let's do a fundraiser. And that was on board the Freewinds, and just had over a cup of coffee, and that grew into that event where we had local musicians. Coincidentally, when that was taking place, we had an artist convention on board the Freewinds, so we were chock full of professional artists, and along with the local performers, and that was a very successful.
Do you have any idea when we can continue enjoying being on board and performing or giving shows, or still not known yet?
Still not known yet.
All
It's
right.
still, it's very tentative. You look at it now, the cruise ships are just starting.
Yeah.
They're not sure how to handle it, but a lot of them want to say 100% of the the passengers have to be vaccinated.
But
right?
I've read that there was one coming in that 95% were vaccinated.
Yeah, well,
so
there's or 95%.
Yeah.
Or if you're not vaccinated, you guys stay over here and don't mix with us guys over here. It's a little bit awkward, but it'll take some time to sort itself out.
But it's not only the shows that have been organized on board with the Freewinds band, or you provide basically everything that one needs to do a show, like lighting and sound in the room and the chairs and the band and whatnot. However, you have also been stepping up, getting off board also, and going into the community to give other types of seminars or workshops, especially in schools.
Right.
Because besides the pandemic, besides the seminars and the trainings that you have been giving for these past, 14 months, I think?
Right. Yeah.
You have also handed out booklets, for instance, The Way to Happiness.
Right.
And that is also combined with workshops, right? That you go into the schools, or how not to use drugs, etc. Can you tell me more about this?
Well, these are not Freewinds programs per se, but these are programs we support.
Okay.
This is the Way to Happiness Foundation, right? And what this is based on is a booklet called The Way to Happiness. It's a common sense guide to better living, you could call it. It's a non-religious moral code that anybody can apply to whatever religion someone happens to be. It doesn't differentiate, but it's basic common sense. And there's 21 precepts, and they're pretty simple, like take care of yourself, don't drink alcohol to excess, don't take harmful drugs, help and respect children, help and respect your parents, protect the environment, right? All these things, and it's what happens. It's in my generation, that's what you grew up with, these values. Mom was home when you came home from school, and you do this, and it's it was, you knew the guidelines, but it's a little. The world has changed, and it's kind of lose sight of this. So that's why this book is written. And what's nice about this book is right now it's out in 120 different languages around the world.
Including our own language.
Including Papiamento was that 114th language this booklet has been translated to. So yes, we've been working with different groups and organizations on the island and schools. And there we could do seminars. Just like I've got some lined up for the YMC summer camp to do some seminars for the kids during summer camp. And there's also, you can make it a whole program for a year. The school year, there's 21 precepts, so there's a course, a regular course that has a teacher's guide, a lesson plan, and everything that the teachers can use for the kids. So,
and it's not only to be given to kids, right? It could be given to any age group.
Any age group.
Okay.
The booklet applies to any age group, and it can be used in any circumstance. There's educator kits for schools. There's kits to use in business. There are kits to use in prison. In fact, we just ran a pilot at Kia with 7 inmates on this program, going through each 21 precepts. And I watched these gentlemen change from the first seminar to the last, and these people genuinely changed and realized that how they can become responsible for the actions that they have done, and how they can now move out into life and be responsible for their families, and be actual constructive citizens instead of ending up back in jail once you get out.
That's not the only topic, by the way, because I also see the truth about drugs.
Right, another very good program, the truth about drugs.
Yeah,
a drug education program. I mean, where do youth learn about drugs? On the street, from their friends, from the pusher, even from their parents. Okay, it's cool to take drugs but nobody says what drugs really are, what drugs do to your mind, what they do to your body, right? So this actually contains the information, the truth, what drugs really are, and there's booklets for each. This is a general one about drugs, but there's a booklet for each drug, and alcohol and marijuana and crack and coke and the whole line of them. And it's straight, hard-hitting information. So if you educate somebody, they can make an educated decision. I can't go in. I've done tons of lectures in schools and even for businesses. I said, I can't go into a school and say, hey, don't take drugs. I say, all right, sure, buddy, whatever you say, right?
Yeah.
But I say, I can tell you what they are and what they do, and then you make a decision. You have an informed decision. You have both sides of the story. And then when it comes time for you to say, no, I don't want it, or, okay, maybe I'm not doing the right thing here, it's time to stop, right? Before you get to the point where you're addicted and you're dropping out of school, or you're losing your job, or like in my business as a professional maritime officer, it's like a zero tolerance field, right? There's drug testing, or if you're involved in an accident and you test positive, that's it. That's the end of your career.
Yeah.
You're not only fired, but try to go to another shipping line and say, well, why aren't you working with? Well, this drug, you're out of business. So
you've given many of these at schools, right?
Yes.
The truth about drugs.
Yes.
Do you get many questions from especially the kids, the students?
Well, I've actually learned a lot from the kids. To tell you the truth.
How come? What have you learned?
I didn't know that. I'm a little bit older generation. That's good information. I could use that in one of my seminars.
Okay.
But you could see them change. You could see them, kind of sink in and go, okay, even if they're going, but when it's hit home. So I'm not asking them to change in front of me, but if they go out and somebody offers it on the street and they say, no, thanks, that's a victory.
All right. We're going to take a small commercial break. We're going to be right back because I have a few more questions about the programs and where you can go to watch more of these videos, and we're going to continue talking. If there are questions, I will ask to Ken. So, no está vim back. No vai ninguém caminho. ¿O quer experienciar algo diferente?
E Aya aqui, Go Cultura Foundation está buscando talento novo como apresentador para nosso team digital.
Se você encantar cultura, criatividade e inovação e você quer compartilhar a paixão com o mundo inteiro, agora a chance.
Lo que você tem tá?
Grava vídeo de 60 segundos de mês, apresentando tópico de interesse no tema de cultura e criatividade.
E não me será necessariamente vídeo com equipo profissional de televisão, e porta também com o telefone.
E entrevista porta ser você ou porta apresentando outra pessoa também. Se você quer usar gráfico, tal vai. Nós estamos buscando a parte inovativa, criativo e carismático do vídeo. Dus expressamos sem limitação.
Ora bocaba, upload o vídeo e manda-nos o link na info@gocultura.org.
Tur vídeo lo ordo mirador de nos miembros de directiva y na final nos los escoge 2 personas, sea masculino o femenino, para trabajar con él. Imaginaba como parte de nos crew entrevistando e informando nos gente nan tocante a posibilidad nan cu cultura, creatividad y innovación da trece con él. Crea contenido nan riba isla nan den región, experienciar cultura nan diferente, plato nan, baile, costumbre nan, aventura nan y hopi más a través de medio nan con Fundación Go Cultura por abrir pavo y pa gente mundo. Por aplicar desde AWMS y aplicación está abrite con 31 de julio 2021. Esa aquí está boa oportunidad. ¿Qué bota guarda? Aplicar AWMS. Agradecendo vou para seguir junto conosco, nós seguir conversar com o Port Captain de Freewinds, tocante não somente o trabalho, iniciativa e apoio e sustento que nós brinda na nossa isla já desde Mei ano passado, durante a pandemia de COVID, mas também em geral para mais de 33 anos, assistência e apoio e sustento que nós brinda na nossa comunidade e hope organização de nossa comunidade para o fundraising, mas também diferentes tipos de programas que não está sali by den comunidade, especialmente nas escolas, que nós jovens não, para ajudar forma nos cidadãos não para nos surpor continuamente também o rende. Now, Ken, you've presented 2 programs that you have been talking about for many years, especially the schools. Now I see also about human rights. It's also a program that you've been promoting and
Right,
raising awareness about.
Exactly, supporting, and it's a program called Youth for Human Rights.
Okay.
Right, and if you can see that, this is actually in Spanish, right, and the other ones I held up are English. All these programs are available in 17 languages.
Okay.
With the Way It Happiness booklet being in Papimento. Unfortunately, these other ones aren't in Papimento, at least not yet. But they are in English, they are in Spanish, they are in Dutch, and Chinese, so whatever you may need.
Okay.
So, and this again is an education program. It's based on the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights that was written shortly after United Nations formed after World War II, right? And it's a very powerful document. However, it doesn't have the force of law. Many countries said we sign on to the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights. We agree with this.
However,
until they take those concepts and integrate it into their constitution, it's not the force of law. So human rights continue to get trampled on, you could say, or ignored, or used as other people's advantage to somebody else's disadvantage because they don't know. So again, if you educate people on what human rights are, you can't be taken advantage of because you know your rights.
Precisely.
And so this is designed for youth. Again, there's a booklet as well and video, and the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights is not an easy document to read. It's legal. So if you don't have a good dictionary nearby, I wouldn't try reading it. But this booklet simplifies it.
Yeah.
Right? But there's also an adult level. Could be used in high school or universities or businesses or whatever that adults can use. In fact, all of these programs we implemented in Colombia on a large scale.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. Now, this program, has it already been given in schools on the island or not yet?
Not too much. A little bit, yeah, but I want to open that up. I want to make this available, this opportunity, so that it can be used.
Now, you did mention Colombia.
Right.
There was, many, how would I say that? Impactful historical things that have been done in Colombia with the initiative taker, the Freewinds. And one of the things that has been, has stayed with me when I saw the documentary about the Freewinds, which can be found, by the way, you can download the app.
Right.
Well, we cannot put the QR code on the screen, by the way. I should have scanned it to put the QR code so they could scan it. However, you can download it from App Store, from Google Play, from Roku, Amazon App Store.
Right. It's Scientology.tv.
Okay.
Right.
And there you can watch the video of the Freewinds, for instance, because there are many other videos that are available.
There's a lot of very good videos, very good information, whether about Scientology itself and who we are and what we do. So if you want to find out about Scientology, you can on this TV station. It's also online, Scientology.tv. You can just open up your laptop and type in Scientology.tv, and it gives you the whole menu. And there's documentaries that have nothing to do with Scientology. They're just very good documentaries that are supported by us. But there's one in particular about the Freewinds herself.
And during that documentary, you see something very special happening in Cartagena. That was, you invited different spiritual leaders on board. Mm-hmm. Can you tell me more or tell the viewers more about that one?
Right. Well, that's a long story, but the
Okay.
short story is yes. The work we did with the Way to Happiness and the human rights programs, it opened a lot of doors, right? And we realized that, you know, basically all religions are kind of going for the same thing. They're going about it differently, but we're looking, you could say, for the same product: spiritual salvation of man.
Yeah.
You know, to realize that we're the struggle we're in, and we're not just this body. There's more to us than just this. You know, there's, whether you call it your soul or your spirit or that thing that's motivating us, that's the special part. And that's what all religions address in some way or another. So what we worked with is, to get religions working together instead of having turf wars. You know, this is, you know, we're over here and we're going to do this and we're doing it our way. Fine, do it your way. There's nothing to say, you know, change your religion, but let's work together. And we've been bringing these different religions together, very diverse, whether Christian or Muslim or Jewish, and Hare Krishna, and many different religions. And we've had summits on board the Freewinds, and it's really opened up the communication lines between the religions in Colombia. And these are good news stories, and so you don't see them on CNN. Right?
Yeah. However, you can see that.
You can see it on this, again, if it's Scientology.tv/Freewinds, and you'll go straight to it.
To the documentary.
On the documentary. And it also talks about the ship in general, you know, how big it is and how many restaurants there is and how many horsepower the engine is and all kind of interesting stuff. But what the volunteer ministers have done around the Caribbean region, and, you know, just...
Now, these programs that you've showcased today have also had a huge impact in Colombia.
Right.
I love to listen to this story. I mean, it's a success story that you've told me about a few times when I was on the ship.
Right.
By the way, hopefully very soon we can visit again.
Exactly. You keep saying that, and I keep agreeing.
I miss it, Ken. I miss being on board. I miss performing with the band. I miss sitting in the lounge and having nice conversations with you guys.
We miss the interaction too. It's you look out the window and go, our friends are out there.
Yeah, we're so close yet so far in a way.
Yeah. So.
But yeah, can you tell us more about the success story that it has had in Colombia?
In 2008, I went to Colombia along with another crew member, not for any other reason other than we were doing some renovations on the ship, and we were looking for resources to do major renovations. And Colombia does a lot. It's a big shipping port, no question about it.
Yeah.
And through one of our parishioners, his name is Andres Lopez. He's a comedian. He's a very popular comedian in Latin America. He's from Colombia. And Andres Lopez had been working with his book, The Way to Happiness, in Colombia, actually using it as part of his comedy shows. He would give these booklets out after shows. And he just met more and more people, and he started working with the police and the military, mentioning this book. And like I said, we were there for business and, you know, ship repairs. But through Andres, we met a very interesting police officer. His name is Ricardo Prado. And at that time, he was head of the Infant and Adolescent Police of Colombia. And he took that job purposely because his vision was to change Colombia by changing the youth. Because the police in Colombia, I don't know how many people know this, but the police in Colombia are like the army in a European or the United States, European country, United States. There's generals, there's colonels, and these are the guys out in the jungles fighting the FARC. They're special forces. They fly helicopters. You know, it's the army basically, plus regular police duties. But after being out in the jungle fighting the FARC, and actually where tells a story, he was pinned down. His troops were pinned down outside a village by the FARC, but the FARC were women and children shooting at his soldiers, at his police force. And they were not shooting back because they were women and children. And he says, that's when I decided to change Colombia by changing the youth. And he saw this, and we met with him separately, and he read through The Way to Happiness, looked at it, and he goes, this is what I'm going to use to change my country. And I said, well, that's good. He says, yeah, I want more of these booklets. And I said, how many of these booklets do you want? He said, I want 40 million. I said, okay. I didn't say no, and I was a little surprised, but I didn't so in my shock. I said, okay. He goes, yeah, I want to give one to every person in my country. So that started the project. And the real test was right at that time, right at the beginning, I think it was 2009, there was a riot actually about to start at the government palace in Bogota,
Okay.
right? It was known about. The riot police were in force, and this was like brewing for a few days, right? And Colonel Prado at the time, my associate, my crew member I was with, Mr. Smythe, he says, okay, let's do this. Let's hand out these booklets. And we shipped down on like a rush basis, like thousands of the Way to Happiness booklets. And the police handed them out, actually to the people that were forming to riot. They just went right in there with the boxes of them, just handing these out. And the riot dissolved. It didn't happen. The people just left after going through this book. The next experiment, shortly after, was the carnival in Barranquilla in 2009. The National Police handed out 250,000 Way to Happiness booklets in 2 days during the carnival. Crime went down during carnival for the first time ever, and the police are going, okay, we're sold. But you can actually see that on the TV special, the Freewinds. But then it just took off. It just exploded from there, and through donations from Freewinds passengers to get these books sponsored, the National Police of Colombia, the military, like-minded groups had distributed 12 million of these booklets throughout Colombia. And date coincident, with the start of this and still going on, crime dropped in Colombia 60%. And not the only reason, but the National Police say this is the main tool that helped a lot. Yeah.
Now, for those who are watching and would like to contact you for maybe booklets, or they would like to have you at their organization or at their schools, or to give these types of talks, how can they communicate with you?
I guess the best way is to reach me by email.
All right.
Okay. And my email is ken.weber, that's KEN .WEBER at freewinds.org, O-R-G.
It's pretty easy.
Pretty easy. If you can think of freewinds.org, you got 90% of it.
Yeah.
But it's ken.weber. But also all these materials are available online.
Okay.
You know,
by visiting the same website that you...
No, their own website. Because these are separate foundations. These are not
Okay.
Freewinds, there's their own secular foundations. But the Way to Happiness is thewaytohappiness.org. Right?
Easy.
Pretty easy. Truth About Drugs is drugfreeworld.org. Right? Same with Youth for Human Rights, youthforhumanrights.org.
Okay.
Right? And online, you can view these in any of the languages. So if you happen to speak Spanish or Dutch and your English is not, just go on the
What
in
are
the
the
section.
ports that the Freewinds usually will continue to visit? Because I know about Curacao, Aruba, you've been to Cartagena,
Right.
and the other ports.
Well, we've been all over the Caribbean, over
Okay.
50 ports throughout the region. But this time of year, the Freewinds is always in this area, hurricane season. So the ABC Islands are always, from July until November, we're home.
Okay.
But we have roots in the Eastern Caribbean, using Barbados as a turnaround port, Barbados, St. Vincent, St. Lucia, Grenada up north, and Antigua, St. Kitts, Virgin Islands.
And you've been helping in all these communities,
All
right?
these, yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've as we've said before, I mean, me myself as an artist have experienced many, many different shows, especially. I remember even one that was a hurricane relief effort. I think it was 2 years ago that we were performing at Paseo Herencia. I think it was 2 years ago, right? I don't even remember for which island. Was it Barbados? I'm not sure. Or the Bahamas.
Was it Barbados? I've done so many myself, I can't
even
remember.
that a day after elections in 2017, I think election time was the 22nd of September, we did a show on the 23rd. That was also a hurricane relief effort, but this time was for St. Martin. I remember that.
Right.
And other foundations also that raise awareness against animal abuse, children's rights, FADA, so many organizations. So hopefully in the very near future we can continue to assist and help the community. And by that I wanna share a comment that we got. We, the inhabitants of Aruba, would like to thank you for all you have done for our people in Aruba and elsewhere. Do you feel a satisfaction for all you have done so far? And what plans do you have in mind for the future? She actually asked one of the last questions that I was going to ask. What plans do you have for the future?
Well, are we satisfied? Look, to us, the pay for living is not money. It's helping people.
Yeah.
It's this. Yes, it's very satisfying. And what's interesting is not only did we sanitize places, but along with that came something very valuable, is the peace of mind people got knowing that something was being done about it, right? And like I said, I've been at other disaster relief sites, and just people walk by and say thank you. You can see in their hearts that they really appreciate the help, and that's you can't ask for a bigger reward than that.
Yeah.
To make somebody happy, to put their mind at rest, to show that even things are falling apart around you, there's still hope. Actually, the motto the volunteer ministers work by is something can be done about it. Pretty simple statement. It may not be easy, but something can be done about it.
That's true.
And that's why, when somebody is in their own situation, whether personal, themselves or their family, or a major pandemic of the world, if you come in from the outside and offer real help, it's appreciated. And there's nothing. I don't think there's anything more satisfying than being able to offer that help.
That's true. What can we expect for the future?
Well, I hope there's no more pandemic. That's for sure. And I hope there's no major crisis, but we'll be there to help. But I again, helping with these social betterment activities such as the Way to Happiness, Truth About Drugs, human rights education. Let's keep going on that, and let's. At some point, yes, we want to start back with the fundraisers. Maybe not on board, but teaming up with Go Kotora and doing them for sure.
Why
not?
It has been done before. Why not?
Yeah, why not? So
it would be awesome to see the Freewinds band also performing.
Yeah,
so it would be awesome to see Susan performing also. Ken, I would like to thank you very much, not only for visiting. It's been a real pleasure to see you guys again. Looking forward that in the future we can continue doing the very special projects that we've been doing to help the community. And thank you very much for, I think I can speak in the name of the community, for all the work that you've been doing since 2020 in this pandemic, by volunteering and by helping giving seminars and sanitizing so many spaces. We cannot thank you enough. So thank you very, very, very much from a very grateful heart, and I think from thousands of grateful hearts.
Indeed. Well, thank you for having me, Edjean. It's been a real pleasure to see you again, and have an opportunity to talk about this, and really appreciate it.
No, you're always welcome. Anytime that you guys need a platform so that we can continue with the conversation and maybe announce something very new, you're welcome. You're welcome at our house.
I'll hold you to that.
Good. Manebo por mira sa kita tawang amistad di Hopi Aya, organisasyon ku Hopi di nos fundação ng lokal para beneficiar sa aqui de friendship aqui, de aliança importante aqui com Freewinds, organização barco que tem 33 anos visitando nos isla. Kuting asina Hopi Aya aportando na Hopi causa ng ribanos comunidade, quizás abo que tá mirando a visitar barco vários viaja, quizás nem mesmo concerto ng maioria viaja com baiwak me riba tá durante concerto ng para recaudar fundo para não somente nos organização Go Cultura, pero também Hopi outra organização ng nos espera que no futuro mas nós mencionar nos por continuar com o trabalho aqui para sina seguir contribuir com nos comunidade. Para toda a comunidade que não está visitando, Corsol, Bonaire, que não visitado em passado, e outra isla no Caribe, está beneficiada, a fundação está beneficiada disso aqui. Por certo, o papiano de Corsol nos que manda palavra de força e condolência no povo de Corsol. I don't know if you've heard this today, but I think he's also a friend of the Freewinds. Have you heard about the news about Seth Wright?
Yes,
unfortunately,
I did. Very unfortunate news.
He has passed away today on his birthday. And he's also been on board, I assume, performing.
Many times over the years, for sure.
I've heard great stories, by the way, about him from the band. Now I remember speaking to Patrick also. Yeah. So we send our condolences to our friends from Curacao. E naabo ko to mirando, hope dank yung biyamas patawata ding sintonia di nakasco Edjean o sa topa outra simang de luna pang outra edisyon e outra conversação hope interessante e hope importante. Passa feliz noite, Turcos bom.